Jonathan Stewart gets it, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown!
Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there.
That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
Did you miss us? We've been gone for a little bit. It's your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast, Bleav in Panthers, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, exclusively on the Bleav YouTube channel. You can actually hear the audio for this a little bit later on across all major podcast platforms. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by my compadre, co-host Jonathan Stewart, the leading rusher in Carolina Panthers history. Got a lot to get to. It's one of our draft episodes. We'll probably have another one before the draft comes on, but of course, we're going to go around the NFL. What should Aaron Rodgers do? We're going to talk about that because it's getting to the point where he's getting down to a couple of choices, and that's it. So, and one of those choices isn't even a team. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Quarterbacks in the first round, best landing spots for some of the quarterbacks that are being talked about. Situations starting to pop up where Carolina might be in a situation where they might actually be a player here in the first round, with some teams maybe looking up to get a quarterback, with the Panthers holding that top 10 pick. Stu's got his top running back prospects, not named Ashton Jeanty, that we can look forward to. And then we'll talk a little bit about that trade scenario with the Panthers a little bit later on into it. But around the NFL, Stu, I guess we could just go ahead and start off with it in terms of the main story that's still out there. Free agency is still going on. And the biggest free agent still out there is 40-year-old quarterback Aaron Rodgers, 3-time MVP of the league. He's been linked to Pittsburgh, but every time I hear that, I'm like, I don't know if that would work out. Can you picture Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, the head coach, like the way they do things? Can you shoehorn Aaron Rodgers into a Pittsburgh? Or what's your thoughts when you hear about the Rodgers to Pittsburgh talk that's been going on?
Yeah, man, I think obviously Pittsburgh is in need of a quarterback, and they don't get one. We might be seeing Mike Tomlin slip up out of there in Pittsburgh, right? So the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
You know, and we've been a fan of Mike Tomlin. We've been a fan of the Steelers' success. But one thing remains certain, you know, the NFL is all about winning championships. And, you know, when we talk about, you know, ascending, they've been ascending, but at the same rate, right? Like, it's like every year you find the ascension, and it's like just stays there. It doesn't go up. It just kind of like, you know, like a glitch.
They haven't won a playoff game in what, like, it's been a while, like 15 years or something crazy. Like, it's been a minute since they've been out the first round. I know we give Tomlin a lot of credit for, you know, never finishing below 500. Last year, they were one of the top teams in the AFC, with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields at quarterback. Wilson's now in New York. Where did Justin Fields go?
He went to the Jets.
The Jets. So yeah, both of them are in New York now. And Mason Rudolph right now would be
a bunch of New Yorkers.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph would be your day one starter for Pittsburgh if the season started today, which I don't think Mike Tomlin necessarily wants to be. I think they brought Rudolph back to be the backup for somebody. But again, does that fit? I'm starting to think Aaron Rodgers' best bet is to not play. Like, just to, I mean,
and to be honest, it sounds like he is determining whether or not he wants to play or not.
See,
and I get that. But the problem with that is there's a lot of decisions that need to be made before going into the draft, hopefully. I mean, the scenario that he had when he signed with the Jets 2 years ago was the same kind of situation where everybody was kind of held up on what Aaron Rodgers was going to do. What were the Packers going to do? So this is one of those things where we're starting to see the same type of trend. And I'm banking on, if he's thinking about it that hard, he's going to play. And it's got to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you got to start making a move here and just allowing the team to prep for whatever they need to do in the draft, right? Because if they sign Aaron Rodgers, obviously that takes quarterbacks off the table. Maybe. I don't know. Like we saw the Falcons last year make a brilliant move in drafting Michael Penix when everybody was like, no, you have Kirk Cousins, idiot. And so we were all made to be clowns last year. So so maybe that's what they end up still doing is drafting a quarterback for the future. But is the future there for them as far as the quarterback position? I don't know. We have guys in this draft that, in my opinion, we'll get to it later. I think you'll find better value later in the draft.
Yeah, this isn't the same draft like a couple years ago where it was like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and it was another quarterback. It was like 3 quarterbacks, but like nobody was taken in the first round, and
we were forced
it ain't that. Yeah,
we were forced to eat the notion that the quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league, right? So that was what we were forced to eat during those years. But I think this year you have some guys, and I think also football, like the NFL is changing a little bit in the sense of, some teams are developing their quarterbacks into starters. I mean, Michael Penix was able to sit back, watch Kirk Cousins last year.
right.
And that was huge for him. And there's something to be said about Anthony Richardson. Maybe he needed that, right? As good as a talent as he is, he didn't have much experience in college. And so he goes to Indianapolis and has a bit of a struggle, as we all knew was going to happen. So hopefully, you draft these kids out of college with the mindset of, hey, let's give these guys a chance. Let's give them a fighting chance. Let's give them the resources that they need, meaning talent, and then we can evaluate them thoroughly.
Yeah, and but the problem is in NFL, everything's all like, what have you done for me lately? And we've seen quarterbacks come out the gate on fire. And I think that kind of makes it where everybody thinks that they can just find that guy and just go that way.
Not everybody's going to get a Jaden Daniels.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's going to be able to draft that kid that's just going to come out looking like everything's in slow-mo, like from day one. That's a unicorn. That doesn't really happen very often. And I don't know if that guy's in this draft, to be honest. Like, as much as I like Shadur Sanders, I don't know if him or Cam Ward or Jackson Dart or any of the ones that they're kind of talking about at quarterback, I don't really know if any of them are day one rookie starters. You know what I mean? Like,
depends on the right situation. They got to be in the right situation.
That's a good segue.
It's all about the situation for a lot of these players. You look at Saquon Barkley, right? Last year, Saquon went off because he was with a good team, a team that was built for a generational talent like Saquon Barkley. Now, he was with the New York Football Giants. He got drafted there, right? And it didn't pan out the way everybody really wanted it to. It was still spectacular. I mean, he was doing, if you look back, hindsight, he was doing some things despite all the downfalls that the Giants,
the Giants just messed that up completely. I don't even I don't know what happened.
So when you have a guy like, when you have a generational talent, when you have some talent, you have to make sure you're drafting the right player for your team. Meaning, does he fit the locker room? Does he fit the offense? Does he fit the defense? Do we have the surrounding pieces for him to excel and to gain confidence and to develop? And will he be able to help certain players on our team get better, right? So there's a lot that goes in there besides just drafting the best player off the board, right? If you just draft the best player off the board, people might say that as far as GMs and whatnot, but typically those best players have the intangibles. They have, I love playing football. I love football through and through. I don't need someone to tell me to go work. I know how to be a leader, whether it's vocal, whether it's by showing what to do, showing up and doing what I'm doing, and doing things the right way day in and day out. So you have, to find the perfect fit. And sometimes you have a great talent that goes to the wrong team and it's over. So I think that there's quarterbacks in this draft that can absolutely prove to their fan base wherever they get drafted, given the right circumstance. I look at Bo Nix.
Yeah, so we were talking about that earlier today. Bo Nix was a perfect example from last year where there was a couple of quarterbacks, him and Michael Penix Jr., where we didn't expect them to get drafted where they did. And there's always one or two that bounce up the board. And I'm looking at the CBS Sports quarterback rankings going into this draft right now as we're talking about perfect fit. You start off, they've got Cam Ward rated as the number one quarterback in this class, the quarterback from Miami. A lot of people have him mocked number one going to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if the Browns go quarterback. I don't know what the Browns are doing, to be honest. I think they're still a little shell-shocked by what's going on with Watson. My boy got 2 more fully guaranteed years left on that contract. I don't know if Watson's playing again. I don't know. And now they got to figure out how to not only they got to pay him, but then they also got to figure out, did we want a rookie quarterback? Like, they didn't kick the tires on like a vet, like an Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. They kind of doubled down on defense. And now, do you do that again and draft Abdul Carter or somebody number one and just kind of go with a journeyman at quarterback and hope for the best? Or do you go with a rookie in Cam Ward while you still have Watson on the team? And I don't know if they're going to do that or not. The curious one here is Shedeur Sanders. He's listed as the second quarterback in his class. I've seen him kind of dropping a little bit after the Giants signed their quarterback room up with Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito. They got 3 quarterbacks already, so I don't think the Giants are going to pick a quarterback at 3. I've seen him mocked to the Saints at 9, who picked behind us, which means our pick might become very interesting for a team looking for a quarterback like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Somebody that might maybe want to get into that. Let me drop this to you real quick. This is from my buddy Edgar Sagamino from Twitter. He posted this earlier today. There's a certain, you can't just trade whatever willy-nilly in the NFL. It's kind of a scale that you got to do it as. And Panther fans, for us to move up from number 9 to number 1 a couple years ago to get Bryce Young, what we had to give up for it. That was kind of
a lot.
Yeah, it was a whole lot. So let me read off to you what we would get if, let's say the phone rings, it's draft night, and we're about to be on the clock. Phone rings for Dan Morgan.
Ring.
Hey, this is Buck Nasty from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the general manager. I don't know his name. We're just going.
What's going on?
General manager. I want to trade with you. I want to trade our 21st pick for your 8th pick. But this is what. And then Dan was like, "Well, this is what you have to give us if this is what's going to happen." So Carolina, in order for them to move up from 21 to 8, Carolina will have to get their Pittsburgh's first round pick this year, number 21, their 3rd round pick, number 83, their 5th round pick, 156, their 6th round pick, 185. And a future 1st and 3rd in order for Pittsburgh to get our 8th and a 7th round pick. Jonathan Stewart, I ask you, what would you do if you were Dan Morgan on that phone call there?
Sign me up, boss.
As soon as I saw the post, I was like, I'm running to the podium if somebody's trying to offer us that. You basically get back everything you gave up in the Bryce Young trade.
If you Bleav in that pick, you go ahead and sign me up.
So basically, Panther fans, you need to hope Shedeur drops to 7, 8, 9, and you got a team like a Pittsburgh that's in the mid-20s that desperately wants to go up.
Get Aaron Rodgers.
See, and I think that's why they haven't signed Aaron Rodgers, because I think they're still trying to work out a way to move up to get a quarterback in that top 10. Because really, if they don't have to give up players, Pittsburgh's equipped to win right now. I mean, what did they win that? Like 11 games, 12 games last year? More than that. They were like one of the top AFC teams.
They made the playoffs.
Yeah. So I mean, that Shedeur, and we talked about that earlier too. Shedeur in Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin, that's buying Mike Tomlin another 15 years, man.
Yeah.
Like literally, like that's
especially just the defense alone. That's going to be on lock. That's what the Steelers do. They play defense to the best of their ability, whether or not the offense is turning the ball over 3 times a game. Right? So if you find a quarterback that can step up and deliver, then you might got yourself a problem. All right, so let's look at the rest of the teams in the draft, though. The Cardinals maybe they don't need a quarterback, or they might. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask.
Minnesota is good. Seahawks.
Who's Seahawks have right now? Maybe new regime. Where's Seattle picking?
They're 18.
Well, by the time you get to like 17, 18, 19, I mean, unless he has an Aaron Rodgers drop and he just falls like a rock down to the bottom of the first, that's the thing you have to be afraid of, because if they feel like someone's going to jump up and grab. See, here's the play. If the Saints really want him, because that's who I see attached to him at 9, Pittsburgh has to leapfrog New Orleans to get there. We're right above New Orleans. Would it not be poetic for us to do that to a division foe and be like, yo, we're going to hurt y'all for another 5 years. Come on over here, Pittsburgh. Give us all that stuff, and we're just going to give you this pick so you can get Shador. And it also is going to hurt our division rival by not having it. No, that's the dream. That's the dream.
What is the Colts doing? Are the Colts good with Anthony Richardson and having
is Flacco still there?
Veteran quarterbacks in and out?
I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson, to be honest with you. He's the definition of 50-50 to me when it comes to throwing the football.
He's the definition of quarterback that needs to be developed.
Yes, maybe he needed to be in a better spot than where he is, which we were talking about before, because Andy might not be the best play. He needed to go someplace with like a quarterback whisperer, like Carolina, Dave Canales, like that kind of scenario where he can go someplace and get. Well, he got hurt early too, so maybe that's not fair to judge him. And they were running him kind of the way we were running Cam in the beginning too, where he was doing a lot of called runs and stuff like that. But
I can see the Raiders. I can see the Raiders. I mean, Jacksonville's right there too. I mean,
I've seen the Raiders attached to Jeanty actually at 6.
Yeah, I would really hope that Ashton goes to. I mean, now that they got Geno Smith, but I can see Geno Smith and Shador, right? Shador being able to develop under Geno Smith.
Do you think he needs that? Like, because it's been, for what we just talked about, how it's been involved for rookies to start, but now they're starting to sit them again for a year before they play.
Yeah, I think he can thrive under the right situation. Again, the right situation. I think Geno Smith is a vet. He's a guy that has played. He's a guy that's proven himself with the Seattle Seahawks. Everybody wrote the Seahawks off, when they signed Geno to that contract. They're like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
We're believing in Geno Smith. And then all of a sudden, we're like, oh, man, Geno Smith is on my fantasy team. Right. So this is one of those things where, you have a proven vet to be able to lead the next generation, the next guy. If I am in the mode of developing guys, I'm getting a veteran presence at certain positions that can actually lead and show the ropes to these young boys.
Similar to what we got here with the Panthers re-signing Andy Dalton, and Dalton knowing where he is in his career. He's in a good spot here, being a mentor to Bryce Young. And with Bryce, I don't really expect a fall off. I expect him to add on to what he did the last 6-7 games of last year, because really it felt like it was more of a confidence issue than anything else. He's got the tools to do everything that made him the number 1 pick overall. He just didn't have the confidence in his offensive line and what he was seeing out there. And the time sitting on the bench gave maybe a moment of clarity, whatever you want to call it. But it looked like the game was moving slower to him, and he wasn't as fidgety behind the line. Now, I understand why he was, because he was taking bullets nonstop the year before. Like, he didn't know where the pressure was going to come from, and it was there in 2 seconds. So I can get it that you're going to get the yips back there with it. But once you realize that the interior was secure and that same offensive line's coming back pretty much intact another year together, and you add another running back for him in Dowdle, I expect Bryce Young to excel. Now, what I don't expect Carolina to do is pick a wide receiver at number 8, because that's been the one thing that's been going on around Carolina Panthers social media too. Ted McMillan.
The receiver spot to me is not like the drafts previously, right? Where it was like no brainers, where there was guys that were just like,
the dude from Ohio State last year that went to Arizona. We all knew he was going to be a top 4 pick, like back during the college football playoffs. Like, we knew all year. This year, I don't see any wide receiver like that. So I'm like,
why would Jaden Higgins, Iowa, maybe. You got Trey Harris. I know McMillan, people are, high on him. Yeah. Maybe we can get a Mike Evans out of him.
That's the comp I've heard, Mike Evans. So it's like, all right.
I like Emeka Mbuka. He has like that presence about him, that field awareness. Good ball skills, good football understanding. So, I mean, who knows? I do know that it would be nice to have another weapon for Bryce to be able to throw to. So, We'll see what that turns out to be. But if it was me at that pick, I see it more valuable in the sense of, trading back.
That's where I'm at now.
And I love the energy we've been getting on defense. Like, we're straight up getting this depth on defense.
Yep.
And I still think there's room for growth there, especially if you're thinking long term. We need an edge rusher. We need a guy that can really be, a threat when it comes to getting after the quarterback. We're going to protect ours, but we want to get to theirs.
Yeah, we want to hurt yours. Now, I will say that I've moved off of I'm almost at a point now where I'm about 90%. Let's trade this thing and get some picks, because I have the voice of Skylar Callahan in my head going depth. And we need those picks, and we need young guys that are hungry. And if you can pick up all those picks just to be able to recoup the draft picks that we gave up to get Bryce Young, that put us in a hole, to be able to get those back without giving up a player and just moving down a position, that's perfect. And they're at 21. You know what's going to be at 21? Somebody like James Pierce out of Tennessee, the defensive end. Grab him at 21.
Or Mike Green from Marshall.
I like that dude. I like
Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M.
Yeah, those guys are going to be there. Like,
he's got
and
high
if that's
potential.
What you're looking for,
yeah, he's got high potential. He's versatile, like in the right scheme. Obviously, he probably has some discipline things as far as, attacking the right gaps and holding his ground on certain tasks on defense. But I think there's a lot more defensive guys that hold value. Especially those big guys, the long guys. I heard, Dan Morgan talk about what he's looking for: violent hands, large guys, long arms. So it's, the things of that nature when it comes out to who are we going to try to pick in this draft. If it's defense, if it's defensive line, edge rusher, they got to be violent with their hands, and they got to be big. And, guys like Carter.
Abdul Carter.
Yeah, Abdul Carter. He's not big. He's fast. Well, fast now.
I ain't falling for Abdul Carter. I keep seeing people trying to say he's a generational talent and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't know if there's more than the only ones I'm willing to say are generational talents out of this draft are Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty looks like he was carved
Mason
out of
Graham. Mason Graham.
Borderline Mason Graham. Because I'm like, if Mason Graham falls and he's sitting there at 8, don't trade that thing. Go ahead and bring Mason on the Charlotte.
Get Mason Graham on in here. Come on here, boy.
Brown? Yeah.
Get next to Derek Brown and Bobby Brown Jr.
Yeah, let's go scare some people real quick. But if that happens, then we should run to the podium too. But if we're sitting at 8 and Graham's off the board, Hunter's gone. We're not. Dave Canales pretty much. I don't even know why people are still talking about this. A wide receiver at 8. Dave Canales pretty much said on Up and Adams last week that we got to fix the defense. Defense is the priority. Like we really need to fix our defense. So they're going to go defense at number 8. I don't know why people are trying to fool themselves into thinking,
or they're going to trade out and still pick up the value that's going to the guys that are left in the draft. There's still going to be plenty of guys to pick over when it comes to the defense. So
yeah, and
especially when you talk about what type of guys we're wanting, guys that love football, guys that will run through a wall,
hungry,
guys that are leaders, guys that just have good football brains. Those are guys that might get picked over, right? So in my mind, I don't want flashy. If everybody's talking about them, you might not want them, especially unless they're like the top 5 picks, right? So if everybody's talking about them, okay, y'all fight over the scraps. We'll find value.
I'd rather have a diamond in the rough. I'd rather have a Jaden Coker,
And by the way, I'm not saying that these kids in this draft are scraps, by the way. There's a lot of talent in this draft. But I'm just saying it's just different this year.
I want to before we get out of here, I wanted to get to your running back prospects, because although we've talked about Ashton Jeanty on this show, and I've gotten to many an argument on X regarding Jeanty and where he should go, and if the Panthers should even entertain it and that kind of thing. I'm not on that I never really was on that ledge, the Ashton Jeanty ledge. I was just saying he's going to be a top 10 pick by the time we get to the draft. This whole idea, we push against it all the time here, that running back shouldn't be picked in the top 10 or in the first round. You can give him the fourth round, blah, blah, blah. You can get a fourth round running back, but he's going to be a fourth round running back more often than not. Not everybody's Dak Prescott gets drafted in the fourth round, becomes the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Like that doesn't happen usually. So when people tell me, oh, we can get a running back in the third, fourth round, I'm like, you can, but that doesn't mean they're going to be 1,000-yard running back. Like, they don't grow on trees like that. So when you see a guy like Ashton Jeanty, who again looks like he was carved out of granite, like the dude looks like I saw at his workout, I'm just like, how is he able to move so fast when he looks like he weighs about 400 pounds of just brick, like just muscle? Like, what is going on?
That boy was shaped like the Ultimate Warrior, man.
That's how he runs too. He just dude, he's running with the ribbons, and that's a great comp. That's a great comp.
Boy, Bill, and he's shifty as all get out. You know what he reminds me of when he runs?
What's that?
He runs like LaDainian Tomlinson.
Ooh, that's a good comp too, because
his contact balance and his burst, like he was not getting. LaDainian Tomlinson is everything that you wish you could be.
He might be one of the most underrated all-time greats at running back of all time, because his name never really pops up when you talk about all-time greats, but he is. He's got the
coldest celebration too. But yeah, let me get to this top 25, running back class.
Yeah, let's hit this. So Stu's top running back draft prospects here, not named Ashton Jeanty. Give us some names we need to be looking at here in the draft.
Yeah, I said top 25. I meant top 5.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's gonna be a long show.
But the top 5 prospect that I'm going to mention here, that's not Ashton Jeanty, is Amarion Hampton from North Carolina. This kid's got vision, can break tackles, consistently racking up yards. He's not the flashiest, but he's a workhorse. And whoever he goes to, the right system, like we talked about, he will be a 1,000-yard rusher. You hear me? He will be. And
you know we're going to get him somehow.
Who?
Pittsburgh.
Who?
Pittsburgh.
Now, see, if they go ahead and sign Aaron Rodgers, that's your guy.
It's going to get Hampton behind him. They still got Najee Harris too, right?
Yeah. Najee is over there in LA with the Chargers.
Oh, who's their lead back in Pittsburgh?
30. Blanking my name right now. But Amarion Hampton from North Carolina, if he goes to the right system, I'm telling you, this kid's got it. Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Joe Mixon.
Okay. That's a good comp for him. Yeah.
Joe Mixon and how he runs, he like glides almost. And I say glide, it's not like a bad term. Glide is like music. It's like harmony. But then it's also met with like, if you hear that bass in that music, that thump, he's gonna thump you if you're in the way. Okay. He's trying to glide. So if you want to get in the way, you're gonna get thumped.
Marion's legit. Like, as a Carolina fan, I watched a lot of his games, and he was prone to bust out a 200-yard game on you, like at any moment in college. Like he's legit. He's the real deal.
That Wake Forest game, I was like, hold up, wait a minute.
He a problem. He is. And you're right. If he gets to a place that's got a good offensive line in front of him already, like if he lands someplace, like I'm trying to do a place that just like needs a running back, like the Commanders or.
The Commanders have some running backs, but if you did go to the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, that's scary.
Or even I don't know who the Rams have at running back right. No, they have that kid. But even the Rams have a good offensive line, or Dallas. Like I've seen Dallas needs a lead running back.
Running back, and they probably gonna mess up. And so if they're gonna mess up and miss out, that's what they do. That's what they've been doing lately. So what they should do is hold their water. They might want to draft back.
I've seen Jeanty tied to them, but they're at 12. So I think Genty's gonna be long gone at number 12. Yeah, maybe Dallas is calling us.
Amarion Hampton and say, hey, look, Dak, we're gonna try our best to surround you with some weapons so we can take the pressure off this offensive line and have a running back there that can run the ball, which in turn will give you the best pass protection of all, which is run the ball.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb won't be covered by 3 dudes every time he's running out there by himself. Like, let's bring it back to the old school. Let's go back to the triplets days, Emmett, Irvin, Aikman.
Mm-hmm.
That worked. I mean, that still works.
Yeah, but Omarion Hampton, man, he's 6 foot, 220 pounds. I like big backs because I'm a big back myself. So when it comes to a guy like this, I mean, he dominates between the tackles. His vision, his elusiveness, tight spaces. You want to talk about phone booth? He can get the wiggle in a phone booth. So that's my guy.
All right, I like Omarion. Who else you got?
And then underhyped prospect, I'm gonna have to go with Devin Neal from Kansas. Right? He's consistent, versatile. I like that word, just versatile, or versatile, depending on who you are, and has shown he can run for 1,000 yards in multiple seasons. He's done it, right? So he knows how to run the ball. And now he has to work on some things, receiving skills, blocking and all those types of things, because those are the tangibles that's going to keep you on the field for 3 downs, right? It means there's more value there for a team to bank on you, especially these days, So I think, Devin Neal, he's 5'11", 210 pounds, good size. He doesn't have the crazy athleticism, you know what I'm saying? But he has great body awareness. So he's avoiding hits, he's avoiding, defenders, which creates missed tackles. He has great vision, especially when it comes to gap scheme. So he's a good back. If you are struggling a little bit on the offensive line and you're going to run gap scheme, he understands gap scheme and he's going to hit them gaps. Okay. So I got Devin Neal.
Let me ask you a quick question before you get through the rest of your list. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
5'10". Okay. Because when you were going through that, I remember an argument I was having a couple of years ago online about running back size, and it was all about Christian McCaffrey being too small to run the tackles or whatever, and I was like, that's ridiculous. And I went to go look at his size. He's like 5'11", 210 or something like that at the time, and they're like, oh, that's too small. And I was like, really? So I started going back and looking at like the all-time greats at running back. Average height about 5'11", average weight about 220, somewhere in that range. And I'm talking to everybody from Walter Payton to Emmitt Smith to Eric Dickerson was a little taller. He was like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, Eric Dickerson, I saw him in person at the Super Bowl. Hey, that's a grown man.
Yeah.
He's tall now. He looked like he could still play too.
I was going to say, he probably still get 1,000 yards in today's NFL. But like on average, the traditional tailback, it's about 5'11", about 200 pounds. And you're right there in that same range. So I just thought it was weird that a kid like McCaffrey was basically your size in terms of like height. And I don't know where he was tipping the scale at when y'all were playing together, but for people to say he was too small, there was something else going on there. Let's just be real. But for them to say he couldn't run between the tackles, I'm like, he's the same size as Marshall Faulk. Like literally, like he's the exact same measurements as Marshall Faulk. That's kind of running back. I was just curious. I'd never asked you how tall you were. I thought you were around about that height. But give me another running back you got.
All right. So I'm gonna have to go Travion Henderson, Ohio State.
Oh, okay. This name's been popping up a lot with us.
And this is a guy, when I talk about the right situation, he will thrive. Okay. Big play potential, and he's got power to him. You know what I'm saying? But he needs to be on a team that can help him develop. He's got to be able to pass block. He's got to be able to be a receiving threat. But if he lands to the right team, he will be a potential star for sure. Potential breakout star. Travion Henderson, he went to Ohio State, and the reason why my tone has changed is because you dominated my Oregon Ducks.
I wasn't gonna say nothing, but yeah, I was gonna leave you.
It really, there's a lot of guys in the draft. I was gonna go, Cam Scatbo, and I was gonna go, DJ.
He's interesting,
Kansas State. RJ Harvey from UCF, 4.4 speed, dog, 5'8", 207 pounds. That's a change of pace guy right there.
Yeah.
Bashawn Tootin, 4.32, fastest 40 in the draft for a running back.
You probably.
So you got guys that can be a change of pace guy for third down, come in, spell you a little bit. Maybe, you can, tote the ball for weeks, given injuries. I look at what's his name from Detroit Lions?
Oh, Gibbs?
Gibbs.
Jahmyr
Jahmyr
Gibbs?
Gibbs.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Smaller back, sharing the backfield with Montgomery. Montgomery goes down, and he steals the show, right? Steals the show. I see some of these guys like Quinshon Judkins being that type of guy, right? Given the right situation, pair him up with someone so that way he can develop. Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of running backs in this draft. You know, Quinshon, or not Quinshon, I said Quinshon Judkins. I meant Travion Henderson. I said Quinshon. That's the other running back from Ohio State. But Travion Henderson, put him in the right situation, and he'll be all right, man. A lot of wiggle to him, you know, kind of like a J.K. Dobbins. Maybe even a little bit of Le'Veon Bell with a little patience.
You know? Ooh, that's a name I ain't heard in a minute, Le'Veon Bell. Let me ask you this then before we get out of here. Do you think the Panthers will pick a running back somewhere along the way here?
I mean, there's a lot of them on this list, but I think he's solid where we at, man. I don't think it's going to be a point. I don't think it'll be a point of emphasis, but when it comes to the draft, you're going to take the best player on the board. So
like, say it's because we were talking about this earlier when we were planning the show. Yeah. The Panthers don't have an early second round pick because that pick went to Chicago in the Bryce Young deal, but they did recoup a second round pick last year. It was either the Rams. I think it was the Rams, actually. I think I told you it was the Burns deal to the Giants, but I think it was the Rams deal. The Rams moved up and gave us their second the following year, last year during the draft, and we got our second out of it. I was like, oh, cool, we got our second back, but it's lower because it's the Rams second, so it's like in the 20. Well, at that point,
I'm not taking a running back in a second. Something. I'm not taking
Amari and Hampton sitting there. Would you think about
it? If he's sitting there, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna turn the TV off. If Amari and Hampton is sitting in the late second round, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Right, I know. Hey, stranger things have happened. That's what I'm saying. Players
y'all
always
see what happened last year. It's a running back driven league now. It's a running back driven league.
Go get him.
Go get him.
But if he's sitting there, because Canales is kind of said.
He ain't gonna be there. Listen.
I know he ain't gonna be there. I'm just entertaining. I know. If he's there, 50-some picks, and Amari Hampton's still on the board, I think we're obligated to take him at that point. Yeah,
we would be like, listen, we're doing everybody a favor.
We'll bring him.
But I'm really saying, like, Chuba Hubbard is the guy.
Yeah,
he's the guy.
And I love Chuba. Like I think Chuba has proven he is running back number one for the Carolina Panthers, and I think Dowdle's gonna be a perfect complement to him, back and forth. At the way they kind of are similar running backs, so I think that's gonna be fine. But I don't know if they need like a scat back, like a switch up kind of twitch kind of guy.
You just said scat back, and I'm thinking about Tennessee's running back, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee.
Okay.
Now that is a scat back. Okay. That's a guy that got that.
Yeah.
Right?
Something like a Jahmyr Gibbs type. That's like a twitch kind of just juke you in space kind of. Yeah. We don't have that. We don't have any speed on offense.
He's not really great in tight spaces. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, he's got a quick burst and acceleration, change of direction is all that great. It's great, okay, effortlessly.
Kind of like Xavier Worthy, the way he was described last year, the wide receiver that's with Kansas City now, where he had the 4.24 40 or whatever, and it was like if you can get him running in a straight line, you're good to go. He proved he was more than that over the course of the year to the point where he's number one wide receiver for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl by that point of the season. But somebody like that, and I think they'll try to get that in those middle rounds. I think they're going to deal with defense first round, second round. I think Dan's going to load up on picks. Like, I really feel like he's going to go in here. I'm going to try to find the best way to find dogs is if I've got 15 chances to get one, pretty much, you know? So I think he's going to just, oh, you want to trade? We'll trade now. Because there's nobody on this board where I'm like, even I was saying Jalen Walker at 8 last week going into this. I'm not even sure if Jalen Walker's, he seems like he wants to be here, and they talk really highly of him. And I've seen Tyler Warren's
leadership tendencies. He has like that leader vibe.
He's from Georgia. He's
going to pull other guys to the right direction and, like, you know, be a leader in that class for sure.
And it's a spot we need, but we also could use an extra 3 picks. Like, that could, I think I'd want that more, to be honest, at this point. I think I'm saying I'd rather trust Dan Morgan and his scouting department that they can
trusting
find
Dan all the way. Listen,
that they can find
we just
3
talking
guys.
just to be talking. We talking just to be talking, man. Look, Dan's got this. Dan's been cooking. He knows how to season chicken and all that.
Yeah,
So,
let him cook.
Yeah. I will say this. Going back to, I want to talk about Dylan Gabriel for a second, because we were talking about Shedeur Sanders, to the Steelers and all that. I'm on the side of picking a quarterback that's going to fall, especially if you get an Aaron Rodgers. So if you get Aaron Rodgers, pick a quarterback that actually has a polish to him.
Right.
Dylan Gabriel has played the most football out of any of these kids in the draft.
His height doesn't scare you off at all?
No, it doesn't. He's 5'11", dog. Drew Brees.
Yeah.
He was like 6 foot.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
true.
and he's big and he's fast. so like
so
he's a bigger 5'11", and he got the arm talent, dog. Like I was watching him all year. So he's got the arm talent, he's got the leadership skills. So given the right situation, he's a guy that can go in there and be like a Bo Nix. And just because they both went to Oregon, it's not that I'm just saying that an assumption, but Bo Nix played the most football of all the quarterbacks last year.
Yep.
So
he basically hit the ground running. Like,
yeah.
Now, granted, he had Sean Payton in his ear, which helps a lot. So that goes with what you were saying about the right spot.
Sean Payton went and got him. He's like, no, this is my guy.
That conviction. That's who's going to have the conviction with.
So if there's a team out there that says, "Yo, this is our guy. I don't care what people think." I think Dylan Gabriel is a guy like that. Okay.
Another one too, and I know we're running up against it here. A name that we heard early, and then he started to move up, and now he's kind of floating now. They got him listed as the 4th best quarterback in this class on CBSSports.com. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback at Alabama. That I think if he's in the right hands or in the right system, I think he can have a Jalen Daniels type of breakout type of situation. I know we keep coming back to Pittsburgh because they're like one of the ones that desperately need a quarterback. I'm just kind of picturing who would take well to being under Mike Tomlin, who would take well with a good defense, good to great defense, and a solid running game. Pittsburgh forever keeps an offensive line. I can't think of any time in my lifetime where their offensive line was a mess. And it just, you stick Milroe back there, or somebody like even Gabriel would probably fit back there in that offense. I'm looking at Dylan Gabriel's stats. He looks like a running back. We were just talking about this. He's 5'11", 205. Like he's literally the prototypical size for a running back. But
run you over.
Yeah, for sure. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. A lot of people.
Jackson Dart, we forgot about him. I think. I think honestly, we're going to be shocked at the draft.
Somebody's going to move up out of those names we just mentioned. Either Milroe, Dart, Quinn Ewers at Texas, who just led Texas to a superb season. You got Will Howard at Ohio State, their quarterback. He's not very flashy, but he gets the job done. Riley Leonard at Notre Dame. I'm familiar with him. He started at Wake Forest here and left for Notre Dame. So, I mean, you've got some guys you can get in the middle of the draft at quarterback. So you don't necessarily have to move up, but
I'm telling you, Dylan Gabriel. If I'm listen, Steelers, go ahead and get Aaron Rodgers, or don't, whatever you got to do. But don't panic, man. Dylan Gabriel is your guy. And yes, I'm a little bit biased because he's an Oregon Duck, but it just makes a lot of sense to me.
But you've seen him.
You've seen what happened with Bo Nix. Gabriel's he has crazy experience in college, which is valuable for a team with missing pieces. Period. Right? He's a pocket passer with good accuracy. That's what you want.
That's what you want. Yeah.
I mean, his size is, his size and his conservative play is what may scare some teams, right? As far as what he put on display in Oregon. But if you match that up with a tailored offensive line, okay? Tailored, I mean, button up, suit and tie. Now, a team will, is willing to build around him if you have that. And when I say build around him, I'm saying, the talent around that. You already got DK Metcalf.
George Pickens is still there.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
think they have a tight end.
so
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
you can really, if you don't get Aaron Rodgers, it's either Shador or, in my opinion, Dylan Gabriel in a later pick.
now
And
for
you
us, I
can
would
beef
rather
up
them go after
everything else.
Shador because that puts us in the play. They might come after our pick. And then somebody, Richard Fearing, was asking in here, what would we take as trade compensation? If you go back earlier in the show, we were talking about it, Richard, but basically based off of the trade value chart that they have now, that I think Jimmy Johnson kind of made this back in the early 90s when he was with Dallas, and the whole league uses it now for compensation. It would have to be Pittsburgh's first this year, their third this year, their fifth, their sixth this year, a first and a third in the future in exchange for our first this year and a seventh this year. That would work in terms of what they would take for it, because they're moving up from 21 to 8. So it's a large jump. It's larger than us moving from 9 to 1 a couple years ago. And we basically recoup everything we lost in the Bryce Young trade. And we kind of get back on. I'd rather do that actually and see Dan pick these diamonds in the rough, because I think Dan's talent is finding those guys in the 4th round, the 5th round, the 6th round. Those guys that might blossom into a starter one day, but they're special teamers. They're the fabric of the back of the team.
And you have a GM that's played the game. He knows what a football player looks like. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it smells like. He knows what it sounds like, right? So that's what we have in Dan Morgan. So we over here just spitting off, all the garbage that everybody's been collecting the last 3 months.
That's why we don't do this normally.
And so we're gonna just wait till the draft happens and talk about why it happened.
Thank you. I never understood, and we're going to end it right here, because we talked about this. We prepped y'all throughout the years. Like, look, if you come to Bleav in Panthers for mock drafts and guessing for 2 months straight, and that's not us. We've never been that way. Like, no matter what iteration of this show it was, we never will do a 7-round mock draft for the Carolina Panthers. Like, it's just, I feel like it's pointless. Like, even if we did a bunch of them, and I've seen people doing them, and I'm sure they're fun, after round 1, it's kind of a crapshoot anyway. Like, it's who do you like, pretty much. And it's going to be, I promise you, by day 2, day 3, well, probably by day 3, we're going to be like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? And then we're going to have to go look up who that is. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what Dan's doing. All right. Keep on cooking, Dan. Like, so just let Dan handle this. Now, when we come back next time, we'll pick another position outside of running back. We probably need to go on the defensive side, because you know what? I think Dan is waiting on a middle linebacker that just blows him off his feet, because I don't know if he's seen one yet. And that's what he's waiting on. He needs a quarterback.
I like the UCLA kid. What's his name?
Has he got a 1st-round grade on him?
Let me
See if I can pull up real quick. It's magic of live podcast in here. I just typed in UCLA linebacker, like it's going to give me who it is. Does he got a weird name?
Yeah.
Femi Oladejo?
No.
Monet Malaf. Carson Swessinger.
Yes.
Okay. He's a redshirt junior.
Yep. Carson Swessinger.
Oh, I see. He looks like an extra from Varsity Blues. He's got the
a little undersized, but he looks like a guy that loves football.
See, just one of those.
You turn on the film, he's just flying all over the place. He looks like he knows where to go, where to be. He's gonna send everybody else to it. Okay,
that's what I want. Yeah, because we're, as Panther fans, we're spoiled. Like, if you've been here from the beginning, we've always had a linebacker that does that. Sam Mills, Dan Morgan, John Beeson.
We also got Christian Bozeman, or Roseboom, not Bozeman.
Oh, the dude
Christian Roseboom, the guy from the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
He had 130 plus tackles last year. We talked
behind
about
Bobby Brown, right? Well, you talked about that before. They played together. So
I mean, as much as we're like, oh, we need a linebacker because last year and all this stuff, we need this, we need that. We might have them in the room now.
Josie Joel's still on this roster, and he came in 100 tackle guy himself, and he had a little bit of injury midway through the year. But now they will have to replace Shaq. They parted ways with Shaq Thompson.
Great player.
But other than that, like, I mean, they've got some room to maneuver here. But I think that's what Dan is waiting on, his Luke Kuechly. He's waiting on his Dan Morgan. He's waiting on his John Beeson, like somebody he can pick in the top 15 in the 1st round that can be the quarterback of the defense for the next decade. And I don't know if that guy's in this draft, because I haven't seen them tip their cap towards that in any way. But that's going to happen in the next year or two. probably next year. They're probably going to try to angle for that guy. If you don't exist out there right now, Trevin Wallace, I don't know if he's that guy. He's a talent.
You didn't think Trevin had last year?
No. I mean, I don't think he's at the level of like Dan Morgan or Luke Kuechly or John Beeson, like the dude that can direct traffic. Like for the whole
you comparing guys to guys that hindsight. These some guys
like Panther legends, yeah. Like literally, like oh, he's not the cream of the crop. He's not like the best of that.
Oh, he ain't Luke Kuechly yet.
Yeah, right. What's wrong with him?
Listen, when we drafted Luke, I was like, hold on, who's this nerdy kid?
Why does he know where we're going?
Who's this Clark Kent? And little did I know, now we had Superman on our team.
That dude, man,
that boy is something special, boy.
We're going to celebrate. This is the 10-year anniversary of the 2015 team all year long, and we'll have stuff planned and bringing guests and stuff like that as much as we can throughout the year. But yeah, man, Luke, because I was skeptical when they drafted him because I didn't see a whole lot of Boston College games. So I was like, Luke Kuechly, like, what is it? And then it didn't take long. It took maybe a series, maybe a couple plays. That for the week one, it was just like, oh, okay. This dude is at the ball every time. He's that guy.
Yeah, the Carolina Panthers were scouting that. Yeah, they were scouting, boy. They scouted their tail off on that.
And we got him at what, like pick 11, something like that, pick 12, something like out of the top 10. So I mean, it just goes to show you if you know what you want, you got conviction for it, and that guy's out there, you can find that guy. So maybe Dan Morgan's got something up his sleeve. We'll find out.
A perfect conviction.
I told you at the beginning, I was like, let's do 30 minutes today. I was like, well, every time we say that, we're gonna get close to an hour, and we're right here about 51 minutes. So right on.
A lot.
So we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna try to be back on next week before the draft comes to fruition. Follow us if you're trying to figure out where we were. I had people asking me where's the video stuff for. They thought we stopped doing it. We moved it from where it was over to the Bleav YouTube channel exclusively, so you can watch it at the Bleav channel. Usually it's in the live tab because we go live, so you can usually find it easy there. Just type in Stu's name and you usually can find the episodes there. If you're an audio subscriber, it's still in the same place as it was before: Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, all the major podcast platforms for Bleav. Our stuff's still there. You can easily still find that stuff, or just go to the Bleav.com page and you can actually pull it by podcast name there as well. So still easy to find. You can find our clips all over the place. We will be back next week. Thanks for everybody to stop by during the live stream, and we'll see you next week, and we'll probably pick out something on defense. Maybe we'll do linebackers next week and just kind of figure out, is there a middle linebacker out there that might fit the Panther scheme and what they're trying to do here, or maybe there's somebody else we're forgetting about. But for Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav and Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. We'll see you guys next week. Keep at it.